Hey loves, welcome to Hooked by Empress. Thank you so much for always coming back, and if you're new here, kindly subscribe to our channel. On today's video we are going to learn how to make this beautiful bag, and I'm not even going to talk a lot. Let's get to it. You'll need a velvet yarn. I am using color brown, but you can use any color that you would like. A darning needle, scissors, tape measure of course to measure the size of our plastic canvas. For this bag, we are going to work in a rectangular plastic canvas. Then when we finish, we are just going to fold it. So that's what I'm trying to draw here. And then as you have seen in the bag, there's a space for handle. The handle are in cut. Let me not say inbuilt, in cut in the bag. And the pattern that we are going to work with is I'm going to call it straight because we will be just working in a straight line. So we are going to measure our canvas. The length is 10 inches. And so measure 10 inches on your canvas and cut. Make sure you cut right outside the last square on your canvas. And our height, is it height? Yes, this is the height. We are going to measure about 15 plus 3 plus 3, around 21 inches. We're going to measure 21 inches. So measure 21 inches and cut. And there you go, you have your last piece of the rectangular. So this is what we are going to work with, and we are not going to cut the space in the middle first. We're just going to work, then we will cut later, and then we will fold to make this bag shape. First we are going to work 2 rows on our right, then 2 rows on our left, leaving a middle space where we will come then cut the handle space here and at the top. So let's unravel our yarn and get into it. We'll be using just a single strand of the velvet yarn, so cut as long as you're comfortable working with, and then let's start our bag. The pattern is very simple, it's just straight. So we are going to start at our very first square at the bottom right there. So pull your yarn and make sure you leave at least 3 inches that we are going to work over to make sure that your work does not run. The next thing we will do is move to the vertically opposite square, because we are going to start with an X as always. So we are going to move to the vertically opposite square. So like I said, we are starting with an X. It's like we are forming an X to start. After you've done that, the next thing you're going to do is go into the second square at the baseline. This is going to act as our first canvas stitch. We are going to work with 6 before we start going up to form our straight pattern. After you've gone to the second one on the baseline, also go to the second one on the height side. So we will be moving from the baseline to the height side. So the first one goes to the first one, the second one also goes to the second one on the height side, the third one on the baseline goes to the third one on the height side. That we are going to repeat that until we get to the 6th one, because we are working with 6 canvas stitches before we start going up. So keep doing that, moving from the baseline to the height one. It will form like a a triangular shape at the bottom at the start there. Keep going and make sure you are also working over the yarn that we left behind to make sure that your work does not run. This is possibly the easiest pattern that we have ever done so far, and I am so excited because the pattern is so easy but the result is so exquisite. I think this is my 6th stitch pattern. Let me count. 1 2 sorry, you start from the second one. 1 2 3 4 5 6. Yes, so here now we're going to start going upwards. So I will go to the square above my last one, and then on this side also go to the one above your last one. So what you'll just be doing is going to the square above on this side and above on that side. Very simple, like I have said. You just move upwards. You just go in a straight line on both sides from square to square, going upward until you get to the end right there, up there. So keep working, moving from square to square, and I'm going to meet you at the top right there and show you how to finish our first row. So as you can see, I have 2 squares to go to get to the top right there. So I'm just going to do the same thing we have been doing, moving from the square on my left to the square on the height side, and finally the last one. And as you can see, we still have some space to cover right there, and here is we are just going to finish, and it's also going to end looking like a triangle the same way that we started. So you're just going to continue the same way, just that on this side, instead of the squares on the height side, now it's the square on the edge up there. So move from this square to the next one, just move to the next one from the height side, come to the one above the one you worked, to the next one right there. As you can see, it has already started reducing, coming to meet to form a triangle there as we finish. I've decided to zoom in because honestly I find it so difficult explaining some of these things, but I hope now that you can clearly see what I am doing, you can do the same. And we are now on our last square, the last one on this side and the last one on this side. It's not the last because on the same line there's that one square remaining at the top there, and that is what we are going to use to start our second row. And as we started, remember we started with an X. So here, first thing to note, you can see the way our canvas stitches are moving. On our next row, they are going to move in the opposite direction and meet right there at the middle to form like V's. So we are going to start with an X here again. So we are going to move from that square that is remaining at the top there to the one vertically opposite it, right like that, and then move to the second square. Okay, let me pull my yarn first. I'm moving too fast, girl. Then you move to the second square, that one, and to the second one on this other side. This is going now to be our first canvas stitch. And at this point, you can't work from the top going back, so you can turn your work. I find it easier working from the bottom moving up, so I am going to turn my plastic canvas, and we have already done our first canvas stitch. So I'm just going to move to the next one and the next one on this side. I'm repeating the same things we were doing, it's just that now they are moving in a different direction. So as you move to the next one on your baseline, you also move to the next one on your height side. Make sure you do 6 canvas stitches before you start going up. And we are not skipping a row. As you can notice, I am working on the same squares that we finished working on. So I've gotten to my 6th square on the baseline, and now it's time to go up. Once again, we do the same thing. When you move a square up on the right, you move a square up on the left. You keep repeating that the same way we did on our first row. So keep doing that until you get to the end of the second row. So my 2 rows on this side are done. Time to work on the 2 rows on this other side. And as you can see on the paper, I had written 11 inches, but don't mind that. We are working with 10 inches. So it's time to do the 2 rows on this other side, then remain with a space in the middle. And there we go. I have done the 2 rows on this other side too, and 2 on this side. So we have this middle space where we are supposed to cut the handle space. But first we are going to leave enough space here to make 1 row on both sides before cutting the handle space. So each row takes, I think, 7 squares. So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we are going to start cutting our handle from the 8th square right here, and it's not on the same line that we have finished working on. You move to the next square, because if you cut on that square, it is going to undo what we have been working on. So you move to the square next to it and count 7 squares from the baseline, then start cutting from that point. So start cutting from the 8th one, and we are only cutting 5 squares, because that when you cut 5 squares, it will make it 6 in total. I don't know if you are getting the mathematics is so what I'm saying is, you see these plastic joiners, let me call them joiners, that join to make a square. You are cutting 5 of them going up. Going on the base side, you just cut till you get now to the end, to the one that you're not supposed to cut when you're moving upwards. So that one I did not count. I don't know how many they are. I just know when you're moving upward, you're cutting 5 plastic parts, 5 joiners of the squares, and that will mean that the handle space occupies 6, sorry, it occupies 6 squares. So the space we have left to make a row is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. 1 2 3 4 5 6 for the handle space. Then we're going to do the same on this other side. Count 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Start cutting from the 8th one. Cut 1 2 3 4 5. Then cut moving on this direction. I did not count. I hope you really understand what I am saying. And as you can see, our bag is coming through. You can already see it. We've not worked at the middle, but you can already picture it as we continue. So let's work on this space that we left. We are making one row there. The same way we were doing, just start from the corner right there with an X, as we have been doing. Pull your yarn until, make sure you remain with some yarn to work over. Don't forget that whenever you are starting a row or wherever you are adding some yarn, you must leave some yarn. And if your yarn runs out in the middle, make sure you are tying them together. Tie a knot and work over it, because this yarn is very slippery. If you leave it like that, it's possible that it may run and your work will be not quality work, and we will not want that. So work on this row right here. It only fits one row, so you don't even need to count. It's automatic, because we counted the 7 squares when we were starting. Now it's time to go up, so keep working on that until you finish, and then you are going to do the same thing on this other side. Then we will meet to work on the middle part now, our last part of this bag. Ta-da! There we go. This is looking so beautiful already. So it's time to work on this middle part. I am going to start on the right, then on the left, and then work on them at the middle as the last point, because we are not sure. I am sure, but assuming that you're not sure that the space is going to fit 3 rows, it's better to work on the left, then on the right, and then finish with the middle, so that the middle one, it can be bigger, it can be smaller, but it might not be the exact same size as what you have been working with. So I'm not even going to explain this part again, just making the rows. So do your 6 stitch patterns on the base, and then you start going up. I've already showed you how to finish, and I hope that you have understood and you're working with me up to this point. Finally, the main part of our bag is done, and so at this point what we want to do is to cover the edge of our handle. Of course, there's no way we are going to leave this plastic canvas being seen, so I'm going to show you how to cover these edges. Go into the square at the corner right there, and we are working with double yarn. Whenever we are working at the edges, I prefer to use double strand, so that I can make sure that everything is covered. Of course, I am leaving some yarn to go over, and I'm just going over the canvas like that and coming back from the bottom to this top side. I am making sure that I am working on over the yarn that I am holding. Go to the second one, the third one, the fourth one, the same way. You are just working over the canvas that we are trying to cover and pulling the yarn to this other side. This is a stitching pattern. I'm not sure the name of this pattern, but it is a stitching pattern. For those who are good at sewing, they know the name of this pattern. Make sure you are covering the yarn. Don't leave it hanging. Don't cut it until you have covered enough of it. So just keep doing this, and then go round until you come to where we started. And before I forget, you can't have come this far and you have not subscribed to my channel. Please subscribe. To finish, turn your work and go under like a few canvas stitches that we have made. Also leave like 2 or 3 inches before cutting your yarn with some scissors. Using a crochet hook, pull one strand only backwards, so that there is a few stitches in the middle there. Then tie the 2 together. After you've tied, make sure you've tied like twice or thrice to make sure it does not come off. Then using the same crochet hook that you have been using, pull that yarn under the canvas stitches that you have made, so that your work is both neat inside and outside. If you're not going to put a lining, though I'd advise you to add a lining to your bags, your work would still be neat. With that done, let's measure this space in the middle. It's 15 inches. This is going to help us know the side pieces that we are going to use for the bag. These are supposed to be 2 for the left side and for the right side. And if this part is 15 inches, that means, first of all, let us remove the 3 inches for the base, because we are going to have a base. I want our side pieces to start from this point to that other point right there, so that the handle space is outside. So we are working with the 15 inches minus the 3 inches for the base. There we have 12 inches. That leaves us with 12 to divide for the two, the left side and the right side of the side piece. So each side is going to be 6. So our side canvases, we are going to cut 6 by 3. So let's get to it. Take your canvas, measure 3 inches for the base and cut. Once you've cut, make sure you're cutting right where right at the edge of the last square. Then measure the height 6 inches and cut once again. So we are going to need 2 of this, and there we have them. So we have the 2 sides for each, and these sides, the base, the 3 inches side now, it's supposed to fit 2 rows. So that means we will need 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 squares. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13. So it's perfect. So each side piece is going to fit 2 rows, just like that. Then we are going now to be joining. So for joining also, like I told you, for every part of the edge I am working with double strand. To start joining, we will count 13 squares from the top. So after you've counted 13 squares, we are going to start working from the 14th. So go with your darning needle into the 14th one. Make sure you are holding your squares right across each other. Make sure your squares are matching so that it's easy even for you as you're working over each one of them. We are using the same sewing stitch that we were using, so just going over each, and the sides we are working with are the top sides. The inside is still on the inside. We are working on the top side. Don't get this wrong. So we are just going from square to square, joining them and making sure that we are also working over the yarn that we were holding. When we get to the corner right here, I have 1 square to go, the corner square now. This corner square, we are going to work into it 4 times, twice on this side of the big canvas and twice on the base now, because after here now we are forming the base. So we are still going to go into this corner square, but we are going to the next square now on this side. Now there is where we start forming our base. So once again, go twice into it and twice into that first square. And after you've done that, you are now just going to continue doing what you have been doing. As you can see, the squares are already aligning themselves. So we have gone twice on this side and twice on this side, then into the next one, continue to the next one till we get now again to this other corner, where we are going to repeat doing what we have just done on that corner, so that we can make another corner for this other side of our bag. So keep going, making sure your yarn is organized. There we go. So we have our corner square there again. So we are going to go twice into it and into the base square, the last base square now. Then we are going now to turn our bag and start working in for this other side now, the second side of our bag. So into the same square, but into the next on the big canvas side. That one now is the first square on this second side of our bag. Then of course, if you have organized your squares right, they are just lining across each other. So you are just joining with this stitch as we continue again until we get to the top. And there we go. It's time to cover the edges once again. There's no part that we are supposed to see the plastic canvas, So once again, go over the plastic canvas that you want to cover, in and out, in and out. And at this point, my darling, you don't even need me. Just join the other side of the bag, cover your edges, and voila, you have your bag. And I just can't wait to see what you have done. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. Please subscribe to my channel. Bye.